Today, we're going to talk about one of the most misunderstood topics in leadership. What's the difference between micromanagement and being highly directive? Most people think they're the same, but they're not. One destroys confidence and the other builds capability. Unfortunately, many leaders and many employees can't tell the difference between the two. Today, let's separate leadership from control. First, we're going to define micromanagement. Micromanagement, in my opinion, is the inability to let go. Staying involved in every detail, the lack of trust, needing to approve everything. It looks like copy me on every email. Nothing goes out without my approval. I'll just do it myself. Some of the results from that is that employees stop thinking. Innovation disappears. People wait for permission. Now let's look at the definition of being a highly directive leader. Being highly directive is not about control. It's about giving clarity. A highly directive leader provides expectations, standards, timelines, priorities, a true definition of what success looks like, and they allow people to execute. An example of that looks like that leader going, here's the outcome, here's why it matters, here's your authority, and let's review this on Friday. They're guiding without hovering over you. Some people ask that question of why do leaders become micromanagers? Some of my thoughts on that are there's a fear of failure. There's a fear of looking bad. They sometimes judge it by their past experiences of being burned. There's this search for perfectionism that no one can do it like me. That generates in your employees is that if you feel like nobody can do it like you can, they start to try to mimic how you do things instead of developing their own style. And it's a lack of trust. Trust can never be developed. It doesn't have a chance to be developed when there's this micromanagement mindset in place. Instead of improving delegation, there actually is no delegation. Leaders begin to increase their level of control. Being highly directive, there's a level of accountability. And that accountability is not micromanagement. That's an important distinction to make because sometimes employees confuse accountability with control or the need to have control. Accountability is about setting clear expectations, agreeing upon deadlines, establishing quality standards for how the work should look. Follow-up isn't micromanagement, it's leadership. As a leader, I'd like you to ponder these questions. Are you telling people what needs to happen or how every minute should happen? Are you rewarding milestones or are you monitoring every keystroke? Are you correcting outcomes or are you controlling that process? Do employees solve problems or do they simply follow your instructions? Your leadership must be adaptive. It has to be fluid because different employees require different levels of leadership. A new employee, a brand new employee to the organization or to your team, you might need to be highly directive. If you have a more experienced and seasoned employee on your team, you can give them greater autonomy in how they do their work. Your leadership has to be fluid. Not everyone needs the same amount of direction. There's a lot of factors that you have to take into account for yourself as a leader. Let's think about it like teaching a kid how to ride a bike. Initially, a good leader, if they were teaching you how to ride a bike, would hold the seat initially to make sure that you're steady. And then they might run side by side with you while you're riding to make sure you're headed in the right direction. But eventually, they're going to let go. Micromanagers never let go. There's a cost to micromanagement. That cost is employees stop taking initiative. They stop solving problems, stop making basic decisions, and stop really speaking honestly because they know you only want to hear what you want to hear as that micromanager. The leader becomes actually the bottleneck, and employee ownership or team ownership begins to disappear. And there's an extreme from going from, I'm not going to be a micromanager till I'm going to be hands off. And that can be a little dangerous when you get too hands off. There's no coaching, no feedback, no accountability, and lack of direction. That's not empowerment. That's abandonment. You're abandoning and abdicating your role as the leader. People deserve direction before autonomy. Let me repeat that. People deserve direction. Think about leadership as a continuum. In this continuum of leadership, you go from micromanagement, which being highly controlling, to highly directive, to coaching, to empowerment, to delegation. And the goal is not to jump from micromanagement to delegation, there's steps in that whole process. And you as a leader have to take the responsibility to get to know that individual that you're leading and ensure that you're adjusting your leadership style to where they are in the moment. It's helping people earn greater responsibility. Because as a leader, you have to ask yourself, have I earned the right to delegate to my team? And in asking yourself those questions, you have to ask a set of follow-up questions of, have I trained them? Have I clarified expectations? Did I define what success looks like? Am I giving feedback, real-time, actionable feedback? And am I removing obstacles out of their way? If not, delegation isn't the problem. It's your preparation as a leader. That's the problem, or that's the challenge. I like to use, when I'm thinking about whether I'm asking myself whether I'm micromanaging or being highly directive, I use the RAFT framework. And RAFT just stands for reflect, assess, formulate, and take action. In the reflection piece, I ask, why am I stepping in? Is it because they need me or because I want control? Then I quickly assess the situation. Does this employee lack knowledge, skill, confidence, experience, or they just simply need more room to think? And then I start to formulate a response for myself of, how do I adjust my leadership style? Because one size never fits all. And then I decide I'm going to take action once I've adjusted my leadership style in that formulation of, I create checkpoints, we manage deadlines, I let people know what their decision-making authority is. What can you decide and what you cannot decide? And then I look at the communication rhythm. How often do we need to communicate? And finally, it's about allowing ownership, giving that person the ownership. Again, have I earned the right to delegate? Some further questions: do my employees ask for permission more than they make decisions? Because that might tell me whether I'm micromanaging or not. Have I truly become the bottleneck that everything has to go through me? Am I, as a leader, uncomfortable with different approaches? And do I reward initiative? Have I clearly defined what success looks like? And for employees, on the flip side, you have to ask yourself before you say, why is my manager being highly directive with me or micromanaging, or I feel like they might be micromanaging me? Am I asking enough questions? Have I earned greater autonomy? Do I consistently deliver quality work? Have I demonstrated good judgment? And do I want independence, or do I want just simply less accountability in this role? You have to ask yourself those questions, because leadership is a partnership. Trust must be earned on both sides every single day. The object is not to develop and create employees who need you forever. It's to develop people who can succeed without you. Great leaders don't build dependence. They build capability. If every decision in your organization has to come through you, you're not leading a team. You become the workflow as a leader. Leadership isn't measured by how indispensable you are. It's measured by how capable your people become when you're not in the room. Think about that. It's how capable your people become when you're not in the room. Again, I want to thank you for watching this. I invite you to subscribe, like, make a comment. For further information on leadership, visit my website at ltcoaching.club, or you can visit my other social media outlets. Thank you.